The Chicago Bears are back on the field for OTAs once again, and the team and the vibe around this team just feel different. This isn't about fake hype or excitement. Not everybody looks good, the typical things that we hear. This team really feels like it knows what it's supposed to look like. One of the big things coming into this year's OTAs is, of course, Ben Johnson, new expectations, new structure, new offense, new defense, and now the guys are returning to a standard that this team is trying to build off on. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows either. With Kyler Gordon and his availability, Ben Johnson has also made comments in regards to not necessarily having the biggest trust in Kyler Gordon, and Rome Odunze comments on making his return and his new normal after his foot injury. We're talking about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button as well. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers here over on Chicago Bears Central. We can only do that with your guys' help. About 45% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel that watch the channel every single day. What are you waiting on? Stop freeloading. Hit that subscribe button. In exchange for that, we're bringing you guys some of the best Chicago Bears daily content in the world. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it, man. I want to talk about Ben Johnson, right? And the different feel around this team that Ben Johnson has talked about, right? Ben Johnson says the entire team now knows their expectations, and that has set a different kind of starting ground for the Chicago Bears in OTAs. This really follows up what we've heard from Courtney Cronin, from Pat the designer, from everybody in regards to that, is that this is just different for this Bears team this year. Everybody knows that the culture that they built last year, and that is the benefit of that's the benefit of getting a coach in here and setting a culture, is that you get to the point where people understand they just come in and check into work differently because they understand what's going to be asked of them. And Ben Johnson and his coaching staff have done a great job at setting that tone since day one, right? And so I think right now, like Ben Johnson said, the route runners, the offensive linemen, the defensive players, everybody's thinking less. And because they're thinking less, they don't have to necessarily grasp the system. They're playing faster, which is what the Bears want to do on both sides of the ball. We've already heard that Ben Johnson and Press Taylor want to get this offense to be more up-tempo because that plays into the strengths of Caleb Williams. We also heard on the defensive side of the ball, they wanted to add speed. They wanted to add, tackling, right? The fundamentals back to this team. And so right now, the comfort in year two that you have under Ben Johnson is one of the biggest reasons why the Chicago Bears are going to be able to come into this one and hopefully hit the ground running a little bit faster. Faster starts, faster play. That's all things that you want to see from this team right now. And overall, I think that the Bears are exactly where they want to be in regards to that. So that's a good thing. Like I said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We're going to talk about some of the good, some of the bad in regards to this team. And, just to kind of balance it out, as of right now, Ben Johnson doesn't have a big trust in Kyler Gordon, saying this. We spoke last year, and neither one of us were really happy with how it went just from the perspective of being available to get to know each other. I think he only played in 3 games when I look back at it. And so, this spring was going to be a springboard for us to get in the right direction. We're still working through that. We're still trying to get through the availability piece. We know he's a good player when he's out there, but trust level is a huge thing for this team, for the coaching staff, for the locker room. And you can only develop that trust through being available. Now, I've already seen people run with this headline, oh my God, Kyler Gordon can't get moved because Ben Johnson doesn't trust. That's not what he said here. And sometimes I think that some people rush to reaction or rush to a headline and leave the critical thinking at the wayside as they're rushing to get to their conclusion. This is Ben Johnson saying, hey, listen, this motherfucker is talented. And therefore, because he's talented, we want to get this motherfucker on the field. But it's hard to build the trust in what you're going to do day in and day out, even with your teammates, when you're not out there on the field. And that's the reality of it. It becomes a shorthand, right? That's what you want to get to, is a shorthand. How can you trust that you're going to have a shorthand with somebody in your system that could be so, important for it if they're not out there on the field? That's all this is, right? We know the difference maker that Kyler Gordon can be when he's healthy in that secondary for this team. We talked so much last season about how glowing Dennis Allen was, just about the potential. The dude's eyes blew up every time he talked about it, right? So We understand there, but he has to show, hey, I'm going to be out here. You guys can trust me to be out there, because if you can't trust somebody to be out there, it changes how you game plan. And so Kyler Gordon has to stay healthy this year, and him and Jaylon Johnson. It comes down to both those guys and the importance that they have. Yeah, we added Malik Muhammad. That's great, but he's a rookie. He's about to be targeted. You know, you can't trust Tyreek Stevenson. You need to try to find as much trust as you can in this cornerback crew, and it starts with Kyler Gordon. It starts with Jaylon Johnson, right? They both missed so much significant time last year that it's huge. Right now, on the flip side of that, we said we're going to talk about the good and bad. Ben Johnson seems very pleased so far with Jaylon Johnson's OTA progress, which is, again, that shows he's out there on the field. He's doing it things. So, you know, Ben Johnson's made it clear. I want to trust you guys because you motherfuckers is talented, but I need you out there on the football field. We need you out there. We need dependable playmakers at the corner in this defense because it is so important to how Dennis Allen likes to scheme. And so, you know, at this point, the availability of Kyler Gordon is a concern of the coaching staff. It's a concern of Bears fans. And Kyler Gordon needs to be concerned about it because you should want to be out there on your field to get the shit done. And, you know, if you do that, great. If not, then, hey, anything can happen in regards to that. And we'll see what happens in regards to that. So, but yeah, overall, you know, Ben Johnson wants to trust Kyler Gordon more. He wants to trust Jaylon Johnson more. Jaylon Johnson is building that trust through being available. Kyler Gordon got to get there. But there's another player that also was hurt by injuries pretty significantly last year, and that was Rome Odunze. And in OTAs yesterday, Rome Odunze was talking to Mark Carman from CHGO, and he said this is my new normal. And it's not from a standpoint that I'm always in pain, but the way my foot broke, there are calluses in there that create a different type of foot structure with these bones, different types of things that kind of shift things around. So my new normal was kind of what am I growing into? And I don't think that's going to prohibit me from making plays. Now, Rome Odunze is a motivated player, and he started off last season very that. And keep in mind, Bears offense didn't look great at the start when Rome Odunze had to start where he had 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games. Then he was playing with the foot injury, and I think we can easily forget that some of these injuries do cause lasting things, right? And so that foot injury that he dealt with last season, it has changed the structure of the bones in his foot. And so now that he's saying that this is a new normal, I think that just shows he's in the right mindset of I need to adjust to this. This is how I can do it. And then, of course, with the departure of DJ Moore and everything, this wide receiver room is open. And this wide receiver room, you know, there's trust there. And we'll get into that a little bit more here in a second. But Rome Odunze has to trust himself. And if he does that and trust that foot, because the last thing that you want out there in football and a wide receiver who's coming across the middle is somebody who's doubting and not trusting their body. Because if you do that, you can get fucking cracked. And if you get cracked, it's going to be a bad day, right? So you want Rome to build up the confidence. You want him to get used to this new normal so he can go out there and play the way that he needs to play. Because if this wide receiver crew and Rome Odunze play like the way that we think that they can, man, that's going to be weapons for Caleb Williams. It's going to be weapons for Ben Johnson. That's going to be special. And that gets us to the next thing. Both Clay Harbor from CHSN, talked about, and Courtney Cronin from ESPN talked about Luther Burden and the passes that he caught yesterday in tight coverage. We continue to hear so much glowing things about Luther Burden that it's just great, right? But it wasn't just Luther Burden. Reportedly, a second-year wide receiver, Jahdae Walker, as well, was getting very much so involved. And then Mark Carman as well pointed out that Zavion Thomas had a catch of the day from Tyson Bagent. So what does that mean? Skill players are really shining right now with the Chicago Bears in OTAs, and that's what you need. You want your skill players to be the ones that stand out. The pads aren't on. You're getting to see kind of their understanding of the system, the shorthand that they have with each other. And it's really good to see and hear that, you know, Luther Burden catching the pass over Jaylon Johnson. You got Jahdae Walker getting involved. Already Zavion Thomas is now, you know, like the 3rd or 4th time out of these OTAs, only 5 days of OTAs so far that we've heard Zavion Thomas has made a play in just about every one, which is good for him. If I said it before, it's not just about Ben Johnson coming up with the right packages for Zavion Thomas. It's also Zavion Thomas performing in a way that builds that trust with Ben Johnson so that he knows, like, Zavion has to prove himself that he's more than just a special teams guy. He has to prove, hey, I'm a playmaker. Get me out here on this football field. I'm going to make things happen for this team if you put me on the field. That's Zavion Thomas's job. That's his role. And it seems like the role players really are shining. The skill players really are shining right now. And then the last thing that I've stood out from OTAs and yesterday as well is that the Bears are starting to get players back. So TJ Edwards, who I've talked about, like, TJ may not be healthy for preseason, maybe not. Both TJ Edwards and Dayo Odeyingbo returned for the Chicago Bears. And, it is. Both of those guys had serious injuries. TJ Edwards broke his fibula. Dayo Odunze recovering from an Achilles tendon thing that he had going on. And so it seemed like right now both players were spotted during the individual warmups, which is a good sign that their rehab is trending in the right direction. They're still not on the field, but they're getting out there. And so it's still going to be reportedly a while before either gets back to doing full drills, but Edwards and Odunze are going through everything that they can. They're trying to get back on the football field for this team, and that's really what you want to see. So those are good things, right? And overall, I'll say things are shaping up really good for this team. And another player that we got to talk about is Sam Roush. Sam Roush, a Bears pick that got harshly judged, and understandably so because of the needs of the defensive line, and we went a position that nobody really thought we needed to address right now. Jason Kelce asked Caleb Williams what he likes about having so many tight ends, and he went into detail in regard to Sam Roush, saying that he's built just like Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet. He did say that the rookie tight end is a good blocker in the run game and in the pass game, and also gets out smoothly to make catches. And Caleb Williams also said that the Bears will take advantage of having 3 versatile tight ends, which I talked about. Like, Colston Loveland is going to line up as the slot a lot. And what that opens up for 13-man personnel for the Chicago Bears is that opens up a whole different level of packages for this team to get into. And so, the things that we're hearing about Sam Roush really do stand out in regards to it. And I think right now, you have tight ends that all do a little bit of everything. Like, Colston Loveland is, of course, an amazing route runner, but I do think sometimes his blocking doesn't get talked about enough. And then you got Cole Kmet and Roush, both who are guys that have that dual game. They can run block, they can pass block, they can also get out there and catch passes. That's what you do to make defenses think. That's what this all is built around, is putting yourself in a position where you have to force defenses to look at the packages that you have out there. Like, if you have a 13-man personnel with 3 tight ends and you have Zavion Thomas lining somewhere up in there, it's going to get very creative in regards to that, right? So you're hearing the right things now in regards to Sam Roush and what he can mean for this team. And I'll tell you what, if you hear your quarterback excited about having those tight ends and excited about a rookie tight end, and Caleb, he's identified this before, it's good. You want that trust. It's all about putting and making comfortability for your quarterback, for your system. And Sam Roush right now in the tight end room are a big reason why Caleb Williams feels confidence about this offense making the next step next year, right? So that's good. Like, when you have guys that can all be used in different sets, it gets there. Ben Johnson is going to use the 13-man personnel to force heavy defensive package. And then once you do that, you shift around and you can force them in mistakes. This could be such a big part of the Chicago Bears offensive identity that I do think it's easy to overlook. I think that Sam Roush has a big opportunity to be more than just a blocking tight end for the Chicago Bears next season. We just got to see how that's going to work out, how it's going to grow, but things are looking really good right now. DeAndre Swift also talked very glowingly about Luther Burden, right? DeAndre Swift saying this: got a young man that's healthy, that knows his ability, that's confident. Because every day he goes into work, he knows his ability, and it shows. I sensed that hunger last year when he first walked in the building. Once you meet him and talk to him and see his style of play, what you see is what you get. And that's who he is every single day. I want to be clear here, right? I've talked a lot here in front of you guys and talked about how I want to see the Chicago Bears offense go from good to elite. And the Bears have a chance of doing that. Now, a lot I do think comes down to how good is your offensive line, because the offensive line was a huge, important part of the Chicago Bears being able to move the ball when they did, right? But we talked about the Bears have to get out to this offense earlier. They have to be more consistent with it. And so now with having a new center, having a new left tackle, you open yourself up to 2 of the more important positions on the football field. You got to get a standard of play from those guys. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to. I'm not saying we should be worried if we are or if we're not. But it really starts with that offensive line. And then you go to your weapons. What has happened here with Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, what they have built here is a team on offense that can go with really any look that you want. When you look up and down on the skill positions on this offense, from Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Khalif Raymond, Jahdae Walker, Zavion Thomas, your wide receiver corps, there's so many different looks, how you can line almost anybody up on the outside, on the inside. That opens up how you can scheme it. We just talked about the 3 tight ends that we have that can all do a little bit of everything. Colston Loveland be one of the better route runners. That opens you up further. And then it gets to your running backs. DeAndre Swift, I know, is talking here about Luther Burden, but don't overlook Kyle Monangai making a considerable step this year, because he's another guy that wasn't trusted early on in the season. DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, and whichever guy ends up being the third running back, whether it's Coleman Bennett, whether it's whoever else, Zavion Thomas getting some time there as well. It's about everybody operating on this. You want to force defenses to think. As a former running back myself, I can tell you right now, when you put out a running back in there and this is why Ben Johnson does prioritize dual threat running backs, and then you also have dual threat tight ends. You also have wide receivers that can line up anywhere out on the field, right? All this type of stuff that you see here, it's going to get very interesting. Jet sweeps, all the type of thing. Ben Johnson and Press Taylor are looking at this playbook, and they're probably licking their chops because what can't the Bears run? It starts with that offensive line. Make no mistake about that. It starts with that offensive line. You have to have a consistent level of production, effort, and execution from that offensive line. But if you get that, the skill positions, it opens up everything that you can do. And I don't use that word lightly. We have not had a team that has this much skill from top to bottom. And I didn't even mention Caleb Williams as a dual threat quarterback, because what he can do with also making plays with his legs when he needs to. We know he's going to, wait to the last minute to do that because he wants that play to develop down the field. This is a team that not only can truly make a leap this season offensively, if that offensive line gets together, we stay healthy on top of that. We got to have health, but also Ben Johnson, Press Taylor, the position coaches, Dan Roush with the offensive line. Everything has to be moving in the same direction at the same time in synergy. We need to have sync. And that's what OTAs are about. It's about starting to build that sync. Then when you get into training camp, when the pads get on, you're doing that further. When you get into joint practices, which the Bears announced, going to have a joint practice with the Bengals. When you get into those things happening, that's where you start getting and really making that step to eliteness. And that's what we need to see this year. Year 3 of Caleb Williams needs to be about this offense becoming elite and him being an elite quarterback within an elite offense. Those things happen. Yeah, I listen, win totals be damned, right? It's not just about you win more, you're a better team. I've said this before. There's a world in which this season specifically, the Chicago Bears may win less games, but they're a better overall team because you're going in there and it's about fast starts, not relying on Caleb Williams to have to be the Iceman. It's good to know that that's there, but not having to rely on being the Iceman to win games. Those things start happening, you're in a good damn position. And so that's what you want for this team. And I that's what I want for this team. And I think this Bears team, I think we're in for a very exciting offensive season. Now, the defensive side of the ball is one as well that I want to start hearing more about. We're not really hearing a lot about the defense. We've heard things, right? Which, Jaylon Johnson looking good. We heard in the first set of OTAs, Austin Booker was really standing out, which is good. But I want to hear more about the defense and what's happening with this defense, because you can have an elite offense, but if your defense god-awful and trash, like I said, you can average 40 points as an offense, be one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. But if your defense is giving up 35 points, all those games are going to be close, right? So you got to get into that bag. And I want to hear more about what the defense is doing to make that next step. And I'm sure we're going to hear that probably more so when the pads are on. I just think in OTAs are kind of built for offense to shine a lot of the times. I think once the pads are on and you're in training camp, that's when you start hearing more about the defense and them taking advantage of that time to shine. And we got to see what's going to happen in regards to that. Now, most people will know that yesterday was officially announced that Caleb Williams is going to be on the cover of Madden, which brought me great joy because I got to spend the day drinking Packer fans' tears because Packer fans were bitching the whole goddamn day about Caleb Williams, a quarterback that, quote unquote, they're not too worried about. And Lil Bootsy as well. Listen, Bootsy, shut the fuck up about Chicago shit. Like, because you'll get smacked in Chicago, my boy. Just shut the fuck up worried about Caleb Williams and him painting his nails. But Ben Johnson was asked about the reaction to Caleb Williams being on the Madden 27 cover, and he simply said this to The Athletic: no reaction. Right? He said he's not bothered by it, of course, but Ben Johnson is all business, and I actually enjoy that Ben Johnson's like, all right, yeah, cool, no reaction. Let's go down here and get it on the football field, because that's like being on the cover of Madden means nothing for your football team. It's more about the conversation outside of football. Ben Johnson is worried about football, and I love a head coach that is worried and locked into business, because you know why? That means that the team is going to be locked in about business. Let the fans celebrate that Caleb Williams is on the cover of Madden, because guess what? We want this, we need this, and fans need to have something to celebrate. So good, let the fans revel in that. I don't want my coach worried about our quarterback being on the cover of Madden. I want my coach being like, all right, cool, you're on the cover of Madden. Pretty boy, go out there and get this 65% completion percentage, my boy. That's what I want to see, right? And I would love that. I'm sure Ben Johnson gave Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson has a big personality on like in front of business. He's going to be all business, but I wouldn't be surprised if they may have given him a little bit of shit in that locker room about it. But hey, shout out to Caleb Williams being on the cover of Madden. Great for him. It's amazing. But plus we get to, like I said, drink Packer fan. I don't know if we really want to drink Packer fans here, because I'm sure it takes like like ass, like just everything there, cheese and ass is probably what Packer fan tears taste like. So yeah, you don't actually want to drink that, but look at him and say, "Ha, motherfucker, get your weasel on the cover." But with that said, it's great. Bears fans all connected. Bears fans seem to be really excited about the season, but they do have some trepidation. They do have some concern, and once we get on the football field, the pads get on. That's when those things are going to be hopefully lessened a little bit. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are the lifeblood of this channel, man. But let me know what you guys think about everything. With Kyler Gordon, and the doubt around Kyler Gordon, building that trust with Ben Johnson and this team. Ben Johnson setting the standard with this team, and the skill positions all shining right now in OTAs for the Chicago Bears. How excited does that have you being for the Chicago Bears offense? And are you concerned about Rome Odunze adjusting to the new normal he talked about? Let me know that down below. Make sure you guys are like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.